Go ahead. Okay, so we are now recording. I want to thank everyone for joining me today. As always, we are going to be doing these Zoom trainings every Thursday. It's going to be the same time at 11 a.m. So put it on your phone, set a reminder every Thursday at 10:50 so you know to jump on. If for any reason you should miss them, they are recorded and saved, and I'll let you know how to access them. The purpose of all of these trainings, as always, is to help increase your business, keep your business consistent, and to lower your cost of doing business. So today I'm going to start with just a couple of office updates to get us going here. Just a reminder, we do follow, at least I follow the Board of Realtor schedules. So tomorrow we are closed. We are closed because it is an observance of Good Friday, and there's also a Passover. So, but as always, if you want to access the office with your key and your passcode, you always can. If you do not have a key and a passcode to the office, be sure to see me outside of this meeting and we can go ahead and set it up. If anyone has stopped by the Parkland office this week, you've noticed I've done a little bit of remodeling. I repainted the entire interior of the office, gave it a fresh new coat, a little bit new look to it. We're getting some new office furniture in as well. The reason for doing this is we are making desk space available for agents. For most of you, this desk space will come absolutely free, but it's someplace to come. And I can guarantee by coming into the office every day and working from here, other than from home, where there's tons of distractions, your business will increase dramatically. So once again, that's something to contact me outside of the call about, and we'll discuss it. Next thing to mark on your calendar, on April 20th, we're going to go back to a live training in the office. So it'll be here in the Parkland office, same time and schedule as always. The meeting starts promptly at 11. We will do a breakfast at 10 a.m. and then we'll start promptly at 11. The topic is still TBD. I haven't quite decided yet, but once again, it'll always be something that'll help you increase your income and keep your business consistent. As a reminder, if you do drop something off to the office that needs to be couriered, please give me a quick text and remind me that it's there. Our courier doesn't always stop here every day. I've told him it's just when he needs to. I don't always want to make him go out of his way if he doesn't need to. Next is just a reminder, I'm still available for one-on-one business planning or time scheduling. All you got to do, send me a quick email. You can send it to parkcreek@urgfl.com and we'll schedule a time. I am in the process of setting us all up on a YouTube channel so you can go ahead and access any of my training videos at any given time. Should you miss them, you'll know where to find it. In the meantime, be sure to go to our Facebook page. It's United Realty Group, Park Creek. And I'm always posting stuff on that you can share to your own wall. Trainings are also on there. And if you haven't noticed already, if you go to URGFL, which is our website, under the My URG tab, we've added something that's called our URG store. This is a great place. It has all your cards, your signs, your name badges, and there's even folders available in there. However, I still have a bunch in the office. You can buy them in smaller denominations. The website makes you order, I think, 50 at a time. If you want to just pick up 10, I have them here. I ordered them in bulk for everybody. You can get apparel, you can get magnets, gifts for clients, things along that there. So be sure to go and check that out. Next, mark your calendars and go in today. Next Wednesday on April 12th, there is a realtor meet and greet at Bar Louie right here in Coconut Creek, right around the corner from the office. I would love to see as many of our agents out there. Have a good time. It's only from 5:30 to 7:30. The board usually gives a drink ticket and puts out some appetizers. So it'd be a great time for us all to go out and socialize. I know I'm going amongst other agents. So be sure to go on to your realtor dashboard and register for it, though. It does require registration. And I hope to see everybody there next Wednesday. It should be a fun time. Next, I'm going to give you a couple title updates because it's really exciting. We now at Parkland have our very own title associate that will be in our office 5 days a week. Her name is Carla Wynn For anybody that speaks Spanish, great news because she's fluent in Spanish as well. And just as a reminder, we do have the lowest fees in the industry at $585 a settlement fee. And we have no hidden junk fees, scanning, courier. And we are challenged to say this. I believe the only title company out there that doesn't even charge a wire fee. That is put in their document, and settlement fee is all inclusive in that $585. The buyers and sellers will not see any other fees. This is great for your clients. When you're doing a seller's net sheet, there's no hidden surprises. You know that it's $585. If you're working with the buyers, you want to make sure they're bringing the least amount to the closing table that they can. And you don't want to have to explain what all those extra fees are that some other title companies do charge. Mortgage updates, as you all know, Certified Home Loans is our in-house lender. If you've got any buyers that need to be pre-qualified, please contact me. We not only have some of the lowest rates in the industry, but we also have great options, especially for self-employed borrowers. We have all these creative ways, and we are getting same-day approvals and even appraisal waivers. The appraisal waiver is huge. First, it takes the challenge out of, is the property going to appraise? Second, it's saving your client about $500 to $600. So anytime you can save your clients money, it makes you look like a hero. Besides that, we are also one of the few lenders out there. We do not charge an underwriting fee or loan origination fees. A lot of lenders charge a 1% loan origination fee. Well, gosh, that's like $4,000 and up to most buyers. Believe it, that's going to hurt their bottom line. So be sure, if you've got any questions, concerns, you can contact me outside of that. But today we're going to get into the main reason for our call today, which, as I told everybody, it's the updates to the condo rider. As everyone knows, in the wake of what happened down in Sunnyside, legislation passed new laws. And they passed new laws, and it changes our condo rider addendums. And basically, I want to make sure everyone understands what these laws are and how it affects your buyers and sellers and what steps you should be doing. This applies to all condos and co-ops that are 3 or more stories that were existing before July 1st of 2022. So pretty much everything out there. Now remember, there's a lot of these through Coral Springs and Coconut Creek and wherever we are selling at, these 2-story condo buildings. It does not apply to them. It's 3 or more stories. And the first step of what the legislation passed is by January 1st of 2023, all of these associations needed to do a reporting to DBPR. They needed to put in their stories, the number of buildings. There was other details about when they got their CO. So all that reporting has been done. Now the second stated what they needed to do. And the one was, if the CO was issued before July 1st, 1992, that they needed to do what's called a structural inspection. On our addendum, they call it a milestone inspection. Now, this inspection doesn't need to be completed until January or December 31st of 2024. So a lot of these associations probably haven't even started doing it as of yet. And keep in mind, if the buildings are within 3 miles of the coastline, the date's going to change because they require it within 25 years of the CO being issued. So that would be July 1st of 1997. So keep that in mind. So that was the law that passed. So basically what you're going to see on the rider is you're going to see the governance form. Folks, I got to tell you, that's always been there. That was always line 10 is the governance form. And basically what it is, it's an actual form that makes the seller obligated to provide this disclosure to them. It's just like the lead-based paint disclosure. You should always be sending this along to, if you're representing the seller, to them. It's just a form, and it's to give to your buyer to inform them of the condo laws. So make sure you have this. If you don't have it, email me. I will send it to you. Keep it in your files. I'm trying to get URG. It's not under our transaction desk. Hopefully I can get that sorted and have it up there. But in the meantime, if you need it, just email me. The next is on it, you'll see a milestone inspection, and it says that the seller is to provide this at the seller's cost. Well, this is a structural inspection that's conducted for life safety purposes. And this is done by the association. And here's where the caveat of the change of our addendum lies. Our addendum is changed now, but remember, I just said to you, they have until December 31st of next year of 2024 to complete it. So many of these buildings haven't completed that yet. The next is also the structural integrity reserve. That is funds that they're requiring each association to put aside for future major repairs and replacements. But once again, these don't need to be completed until December 31st of 2024. So what does this mean for us as agents, and how can we protect our buyers and sellers? Well, first, if you're on the selling side and you take that listing, the very first thing you should do when you take the listing is call the association. Have you completed this? Yes or no? If they've completed it, get a copy of it immediately. If they haven't completed it, you know it's not done. They might give you when it's supposed to be done, or they might say, we haven't scheduled it yet. Don't forget, they've got almost 2 full years. We're only into the beginning of 2023. They've got a lot of time to complete it. The same thing you should ask them when you take the listing, have they completed it? Now, if you represent a buyer, and the reason it says at seller's expense is I can only assume that some of these associations may start charging for the report. Just like they do if you need to get a copy of the condo docs, they may charge a minimal fee to get it. So if that fee is $25, $50 for the reports, that would be on the seller, not the buyer. That's why it says at seller's expense. But in the meantime, it's not that the seller can go out and get a structural integrity report for the to provide to a buyer if the association hasn't completed it. They need access to every unit. They need access to areas of the building. It's only something the associations can do. So we may need to cross that out and have initials next to it if it hasn't been conducted yet to protect your seller, because it obligates them to provide it. But if the association hasn't done it, I highly suggest at this point crossing it off and initialing that those do not need to be put forth. Now, if you have a buyer, I would buy 100%, not rely on the listing agent to have done it. The minute you go to contract, call the association while you're still, don't forget, your inspection period is your due diligence period. So make sure you're doing this during that time to protect your buyer. Call them, have a conversation with them, and find out from the association, have you conducted this yet? Do you have it scheduled to be conducted? Because here's the reality of it, folks. The reality is that we are seeing that some of these buildings are failing. And if they do fail, the assessments that could be proposed in the future could be huge to your buyer. So if it was me and I represented the buyer and I had to cross it out on the addendum, I would make sure I would explain in full to my buyer. And I'd probably put it in an email. These were not conducted. However, they have up until December 31st of 2024 to conduct these. At that point, it may or may not result in assessments. I need you to be aware of this. I would make sure they're 100% aware. You do not want them coming back at you for any reason. Now, that's the best way to protect your buyers and sellers, but you should be doing this the minute you take a listing. You should be contacting the HOA, getting any docs that you need, getting any applications. I'll go back to that, Adriana, and making sure that they have this. I want to go a little bit step further on the condo rider and make sure that everyone's aware of the other provisions that have always been there. These haven't changed. The first is about the application. Sadly, our contracts are mostly fill in the blanks, and most of us leave these blank. However, right there under number 1 is a huge thing if you leave it blank. Because right away, we say they have 5 days to make the application if we leave it blank. And then we also say that they only have to get their approval within 5 days prior to closing. Let me ask you something. If you're representing a seller or a buyer, especially a seller, and you wait 5 days before closing and then find out they didn't get approved, how upset is your seller going to be? How upset is your buyer going to be that they paid for inspections, they paid for appraisals? So I would bump that up a little bit more than 5 days prior to closing if you can, but you have to be realistic with the timelines of the association for approval. This also comes handy when you go and get the application up front, and all the guidelines are usually right on the application, that there's no hidden surprises if it says the minimum credit score, what they require, what they don't require. Under fees and assessments, when I see these come along, everybody puts the monthly fees in there, which is great. I would also, for me, just so it's no surprise, I would put on there an application fee, 100 one-time application fee. If there are security deposits to be paid, if there is, some of these associations now are requiring to put a capital contribution. If you do not disclose it upfront that it is required, it could become the responsibility of the seller if the seller doesn't disclose it. So it's your job as a listing agent to get all this information up front. Now, these assessments, if we go down to section 3C of the addendum, it also talks about assessments. So as this law was put into place, they are talking about at meetings and on the agenda that they may have to place a future assessment due to if they don't get through this structural integrity that has to be completed by December 31st of 2024. So if anyone actually read through our condo addendum, it reads for assessments that they have to be aware of, if it's been addressed on an agenda or reported in minutes. So most of your sellers do not go to these meetings, right? They don't go. However, the minutes are emailed to them, and they should be getting it, or you should be doing your due diligence and getting minutes from the previous 12 months of meetings, because that's what it requires. And if any was even thrown on the table for 12 months and it was discussed and brought up in a meeting that we may be doing this in the future, and you don't disclose it, it becomes the liability of your seller. Because the seller is expected to disclose anything that has come up in meetings for the prior 12 months. We just had an incident like this, that at time of closing, the assessment wasn't placed, but at the meeting several times, they discussed that the roofs were going to be needing to be replaced. They were coming on 25 to 30 years. They've continued to patch much. They knew that the roofs were going to be replaced. It was on several minutes. The seller just didn't bother to read the minutes and keep up with his association. But because they deleted the email and didn't do it, now they're going to court over who's paying the $25,000 roof assessment, because it was on the minutes. The seller should have disclosed it. The seller's probably going to have to pay for this $25,000. So I would be very assured. So these assessments, so it's something you need to do your due diligence. Once again, going back to the new law, make sure you're calling them, finding out these buildings are all, Adriana, to answer your question, it's any building that existed before 1992 are going to have to do this. And even if they were built after that, keep in mind, it's going to start going. If they were built in 93, it's every 30 years or 25 years if they're within 3 miles of the coastline. And then after their initial one, they will have to do it every 10 years. This is the new legislation. This is how it's going to be. So make sure you're reaching out to the associations and finding this out. And if you're crossing it out on it and initialing next to it because it cannot be provided, because it just has not been done, isn't scheduled to be done, some people may not, some of these associations may not even touch it until 2024. Make sure your buyer is aware that these will be done, and there may or may not be assessments. That's how you protect yourself. So I hope that answered some of the questions as for this update on the condo rider. And once again, it only applies to buildings that are 3 or more stories. So these 2-story condos that we see all over, it does not apply to them. And it applies to co-ops just as much too, not just condos. So if it's a 3-story or higher co-op, it'll apply to them as well. So, and as I mentioned, all the reporting just got into the BPR, and I'm sure they're going to follow it up and be very strict about it with all these associations. If you do have any questions, concerns, or conundrums, you could always contact me outside of this call. I think everybody has my cell phone number, or you can reach me by email. Once again, I do want to thank you for joining me this Thursday. We will continue to do this every Thursday, but mark your calendars, April 20th. We will be back in the office for a live training, breakfast at 10, training at 11. Next Wednesday, April 12th, go ahead and register for the Bar Louie Realtor Mix and Greet. It's right here in Coconut Creek, real close to the office. I do hope to see everybody there. It should be a fun time. It's always nice to get out and socialize out of a work atmosphere. And if anyone needs any time or any scheduling with me, please do it. I like to do it by appointment. My schedule is very tight. And if you've got any questions, concerns, or conundrums, you can reach out to me outside of this. But thank you for joining me today. As always, we're at our 20-minute mark. So I know everybody's time is valuable. So go out, everybody, and make it a great day.
Thanks.